Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit is up here back again with Fate 01, episode 8 of season 1, and in the last episode, Kenneth is alive. He was essentially, I'm guessing he was cocooned, yeah he would have been cocooned inside what was described as like a mercury bubble. In which case, like, you know, the very start of the episode, for some reason, one of the officers decided to put his hand into it, which is a good idea. But essentially that sort of sent a signal, almost like, you know, a communication type, hypnosis type thing within the officer to tell them to get them out of there, so they got to safety and whatnot. And yeah, so Kenneth and whatnot's alive. However, I don't know if the woman is. That hasn't been confirmed yet, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see about that. We also had the mediator guy who is slightly changing rules around, because, you know, he can do that apparently. He can also offer like extra command spells as well, which is interesting. And I guess he has a limited supply of command spells from the previous wars that weren't used. So yeah, whoever takes out Castor is the one who's going to end up getting those. Of course, they're trying to sort of work their way around, because obviously he's in cahoots with Tosaka and Kire, right? So obviously they're trying to work it so that one of those two, I'm guessing Tokyomi will end up getting them. You know, so, you know, they're trying to work it so that the other masters make Castor weak, and then Kire or Tokyomi comes in and finishes it off. I think they mentioned that Archer will be the one to finish it off, so yeah, I think they're going to give the command spells to Tokyomi. And he needs them because Archer's the one who is the one most likely to go independent, right? So yeah, we had that. We also had some different ideals regarding sort of honor and, or, like, you know, how they do battle. Saber's wanting face to face. Emiya wants to do things a bit more, you know, strategy based and tactics and whatnot. And while that was going on, Castor turned up with a bunch of kids using them as traps, which is the fucking hell, honestly. This guy. Yeah, so he came to them essentially. And then Saber went out and tried to save all the kids, but no, they all died. They all transformed into these like weird, like tentacly monster creature things, which I'm not sure if they're supposed to be like sort of hellspawn, because the noble phantasm that Castor has is like a tome that's able to summon demons from hell. So yeah, I'm guessing those were hell's demons, even though, like, you know, I wouldn't know what to describe them as. They don't really seem like demons to me, but yeah, there was that. And then eventually Kenneth turned up, using his, obviously, his mercury, like, sentient matter thing, whatever the fuck it is, hunting down Emiya. And we've got to look at Emiya's use of magic, which we haven't seen yet. Now, he is the one. This isn't a matter between, like, Kenneth and what was it, Sola? Yeah, Sola Ui, where she is sort of like a secondary mana, sort of, what's the word? Like, she is a secondary master, essentially, using her mana to keep Lancer summoned, and whatnot, while he uses his power. And then Kenneth, obviously, he's free to use his own mana in his own way. Whereas with Emiya, I think he's doing both. I think he's using his mana to keep Saber summoned, whilst also using magic himself, which was all about time dilation and things. So he had like time accelerating, which basically essentially is cool, and I like it because it's not like time slowing down. It is for everyone. It's not like it would seem that way. No, well, actually, it wouldn't to like the enemy. So Kenneth was obviously his enemy at the time. Like, to him, it would be more like, you know, someone just sped away, almost like, I'm guessing, like the Flash, more like that. Whereas, you know, so it's not time slowing down. It's him sort of manipulating himself almost moving time for him faster. It's cool. And then he was stagnating time later when he was trying to not be detected because the sentient matter doesn't have sort of eyes. It sort of detects changes of I can't remember what he said, like senses changes of like slight things in the air. So he slowed his heart like right down and stuff. It was cool. And then when they eventually got together or faced off or whatever, Emiya brought out his gun, which obviously we've seen before. There's obviously something special about it. I'm guessing it can cut through magic. I'm guessing that's what it is. So yeah, I'm just thinking we're just going to get an episode 8 and see exactly what that gun does. So yeah, without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 8 of Fate. Yep, very good. That was unintentional rhyme. Couldn't have really avoided that one, could I? No, I couldn't. Okay, so yeah. There was mention of I'm going to go through, you know, and I'm guessing chronological order. Human heart. So, the idea that, you know, Irisveal is talking about like the human heart as a weird thing, and I don't know if she meant it from the perspective of an artificial person. You know, like, is she one that is sort of intrigued by the notion of a human heart, or does she have one and she is just saying it because she is sort of accepting this idea that both her and Maya, like, you know, can have Emiya? I don't know. I mean, either way, it works. So yeah, there's that. I didn't get the actual name. I think Volumen Hydra. It's not Volumen Hydrogen, is it? I don't know what it is. He said something. Volumen Hydra something. That was the name of the sentient matter thing that he was using. But yeah. So the bullet in question is called an origin shot. And it's interesting. It's not as just simple as, oh, it's able to cut through magic. It's, from what I got from it, it seems as though that woman that clearly a younger Emiya was with basically said that, alright, so it's Emiya's rib bone that was grounded up, put into the bullet. And what it does is, so I'm guessing the most important bullet was the first one that entered Kenneth, right? Because after then it messed with these magical circuits. That's what, because it says here, it says, right, so it cuts their magical circuits. And I wrote down and replace them with his, but I don't think that's the case. It sort of it ties it back thicker, but if it's sort of putting a part of Emiya into, and I think it's something to do with Emiya not being a mage, like not being like magically gifted. I think that if we go back to when we first met Kenneth and he was talking about magic and how it's only available in those families, that if Emiya isn't a natural, like isn't a part of a family that is naturally gifted with magic, that maybe by inserting a bit of himself via the bullet into Kenneth, that it fucks with these magical circuits, because it's trying to go through a circuit, but it's hitting a bit of Emiya in there who's not magically gifted, and therefore it fucks it up somehow. Which is, it's a bit, the way it was explained and described, it is a bit tough to understand. I mean, because she's talking about it like how you know, he cut the thread, but if it goes back together, that it comes back thicker and whatnot. And she's talking about it like it comes back haphazardly and shit, and fuck, it's a crazy one. But I like the idea of it. I like the sort of like how it's not just as simple as it can just cut through magic, but instead it has a sort of prolonging effect. And Kenneth is fucked. He is fucked. Like, he could be a vegetable. Like, after this. Like, that's how I could see him being. And I wrote down, like, can Lancer even be sustained without Kenneth around? Because there's a second master involved. I'm guessing it's the case of, like, because Kenneth is the primary one, if he was to die, then that'll be it. I'm thinking, you know, Sola's just there to sort of be an assist. I don't think she can, like, herself sustain Lancer. So I think, I mean, she can when Kenneth's around, but if Kenneth was dead, I don't think that'll be the case. It's seeming like, because he's the primary sort of, you know. So yeah. So yeah, there's that. We had Lancer, who cut through the Noble Phantasm, cut through casters, although it's repaired itself. So does that mean that you can't destroy a Noble Phantasm? I mean, the interesting thing was, even though it repaired itself, it didn't, like, he didn't use it again. I'm guessing the teleportation thing that he can do is not because of his Noble Phantasm. I'm talking about Castle, by the way, like him just teleporting out of there. I'm guessing that is not his Noble Phantasm. That's just an ability he has. And how much he can really use that, because I mean that is a pretty OP thing. I mean, anytime he's getting beat, you can just teleport out of there, right? So I'm guessing there's got to be some limit on it, and you know, I'm guessing it does have some effect on Uryu as well, depending on how much mana he actually has. Maybe, but you know, I don't know. I could be wrong. So yeah, there was that. Kenneth, he was talking about, he was being brutal. He was talking to Emian, basically saying that what I'll do is I'll basically rip you apart, but heal the most important parts of your body over and over again, so he can basically keep him alive while he's, you know, while he's doing damage to him. I'm guessing that's just words, though. I mean, because he didn't heal his wound. Kenneth didn't heal his own wound, right? So he doesn't have really healing magic, does he? I mean, I can't remember. I remember them talking about, like, he has like 3 schools of magic that he's really efficient with, really proficient with. I can't remember which ones they are. I know necromancy's one of them. I don't know. I can't remember if healing was another one. But we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it could have been a case of, like, with that origin shot, because it's sort of like healing. It would be like healing something different, and I guess that's what we were talking about with the origin shot itself, like how it's sort of like it's a different kind of bullet, so maybe it didn't heal properly, and therefore it still doesn't look like it's been healed, and that's what they're talking about. It could be multiple different things there. So yeah, got scared there when Irie got stabbed, because yeah, I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to happen. Luckily, she had Avalon on her. I forgot about that Noble Phantasm that it heals the wheeler. I forgot them because they did talk about that. Like, I can't remember what episode it was, but yeah, I forgot that they had that. But they stated that it's only able to do that if Saber is actually within range, and I don't know what. You know, I don't know what range that actually is. I don't know. So, you know, I mean, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, because I'm sure that'll come up in the future again sometime. But yeah, I mean, that basically whole thing has basically put Kyrie on my list of the evil. I mean, everything that Kyrie and Tosaka and whatnot, the media are doing, you can't really look at that as anything good, but the thing is what I was thinking was, because of the way that this sort of show is being, like, you're sort of, I mean, well, this is just my experience, obviously, from watching it straight from Fate Zero. I don't know the other, like, stories like Stay Night, or how they tell those stories, but just because being thrust into the Fate Zero, it almost seems like you're dropped into the middle. And you have all of these different entities, and you can just pick and choose. Like, it's not a case of like, oh, who's good and evil, or it's more like, it's like Game of Thrones. It's like you're thrust into this world, and then, like, you know, you've got, like, you know, the different families, and it's kind of just like, well, some are more evil than others, but it's not just a case of it being good versus evil kind of thing. So you kind of just choose your own, you know, your own kind of you know, characters and which ones you'd think to follow. But I mean, Kira to me has gone down in my list now as like, you know, if we're going like from like people who I want to succeed down to the bottom, Kira is down there. He's down there. I think it'll probably go from bottom up. So Caster, Kenneth, Kira, Tosaka. I put Tosaka on top because, oh, you see, this is I wish I wouldn't do this to myself, because I say what I'm thinking, right, and I say exactly what I'm thinking, but then I like, once I've said it, I think about it, and I'm like, and I look at it, then I look at it from like a different perspective, and I'm like, well, is that the right thing to do, putting Kira like below Tosaka in terms of like who I want to succeed more? Because like at least Kira is actually going out and doing work while Tosaka's just sitting around. They're interchangeable. I'm just going to put them as one unit right now because that's what they are. They are working together, so there's that. And then on top of that, fuck, who else is left? Shit. Right, yeah, it's a list of who I want to succeed, right? So yeah, so you've got, right, Caster, Kenneth and Lancer and whatnot, and then Kira and Tosaka as one, and then on top of that, Ryder and Waver, and then I'm grouping Emiya and Saber and Iri along with Carrier. You know, Carrier is just, he's my boy. I think, you know, again, still he's the tragic hero character. You know, he's the one that like came in. He's not the one that was granted this. He's the one that forced himself into it for another person's sake, which I really like. So, yeah. So yeah, Kira is down there now in evil territory. Just for that whole thing. I mean, you can kind of just say like, well, you know, what was he supposed to do? Because, you know, like, it's not like he went there with the idea to kill them both. I mean, he clearly said to Iri, he's like, look, I'm not here to kill you. You know what I mean? And they kind of just stood in his way of his mission. So I guess you can kind of say it as like, well, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just the way that he did it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like stamping someone down while they're down and shit, and, you know, holding Iri's fucking mouth while he fucking skewers her with that. It's like, dick. You know what I mean? I mean, the fact that he's an executor anyway, I mean, it's not exactly one of those jobs you'd associate with someone who's good, right? So, you know, yeah, he's just down there, right? She's my drifting queen, and I will not allow for any of that shit to happen again. So yeah, aside from that, we have I want to talk about Iri, Irisfeel and Maya, because I'm guessing because she is artificial, and we've heard Irisfeel's story and how she is very much, she was sort of made to be a tool, and she was always going to be that way. And you know, she specifically said, I think it was in episode 1, like the first scene, when she's talking to Emiya, and she's basically saying that you give me purpose, right? So I'm guessing that's the reason why she doesn't have any qualms about Maya also being like Emiya's lover, because I'd have to assume that Emiya and Maya have known each other a lot longer. I'm guessing that predates this relationship that Irisfeel and Emiya have. And, you know, to me, Emiya does... to say that he loves Maya is... I mean, there's no evidence for that as of yet. Because even when they kissed, it was Maya who almost forcibly done it to him. Whereas with Irisfeel, there's a clear, real sort of love there between them both. So, but it's not about what Emiya feels like. Fuck Emiya. No, you know, I think I'm just focusing on like what Irisfeel and Maya in that situation is. I'm guessing beforehand, before Emiya and Iris feel became a thing that, like, you know, Emiya and Maya were partners, they probably, you know what I mean, like, had it on. It didn't even have to be, like, you know, a love relationship thing. Generally, I'm trying to think of what I can compare it to. I've got one in my head that I can't remember where it's from, but it's clear that I've seen it before, because the idea is, like, when you have two sort of, like, those assassin type characters that are always out on missions and their partners and whatnot, they kind of have that idea because of the profession that they're in. They don't really have time for relationships, so instead they just, you know, get around it by instinctually, you know what I mean, just having a good time with each other. So there could be just that between Emiya and Maya, just being out and being partners. That is just a kind of, that kind of relationship that can just be, you know what I mean, you know, and just, like, you know, there could be a one to, like, you know, they could just get together and do it just to relieve stress, like that kind of shit. And I think that Iri is fine with it, because she was always meant to be a tool. Emiya allowed for that to not to be the case. So I think maybe Iri sees it as a, you know, she's fine with what they have. She can't ask for anything more, therefore she's fine with it. So I'm guessing that's what it is. I can't think of any other reason as to why. So, you know, I'm going to go with that because that makes sense to me. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get more on that as the seasons progress. But yeah, that is all. So thank you everyone for watching. Another great episode. Yeah, as I've said before, I'm loving the show. So yeah, we'll pick up the next episodes next time. But yeah, that is all. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One, there's a Discord. Get yourself over there, join the community, come talk to me and everybody else. I also have my a link to my website, which is in the description below as well, SirMonkeySuit.com. That basically houses all of the content that I've ever made, and also there's, like, forums and stuff like that there, reaction recommendations. If you want me to react to a certain show, make sure you go in there, become a member, and get your show on that forum, because the most popular ones, the most liked ones, will be put into a poll when the next one comes around, right, for the next show that I'm going to be reacting to. And Patreon. So I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards, depending on how much you want to support me with. So there is, like, early access for $5 a month. For that, you gain access to shows a week early. And for Fate and Psycho Pass, for those two shows, you actually get 4 episodes every week, as opposed to the usual 2 that the general public gets. So you actually get 4 episodes of each of those. $10 a month, that's the full length. So everything I react to gets a full length. It means you have the access to the full length library, and you can watch all of my reactions in full. $15 a month, that's the exclusive tier. So for that, you gain access to a bonus show, which I'm currently reacting to. As of right now, as of recording, it's actually Mob Psycho 100, the first season. When this is out on YouTube for the general public, it won't be Mob Psycho 100, and another show will take its place. So make sure you go over and check out what that is. Also, all OVA reactions, all movie reactions will go into there as well. And finally, the Elite tiers and God tier. So the Elite tier is $50 a month. That gives you a choice of a show that you want me to react to, and I will react to it. It'll go at the back of the queue, which is about behind, like, 7 shows, so it might take a while to get round to it. But if you want to jump the queue and go at the very front, and you want to get God tier, which is $100, and that means that your show will be reacted to next. But that is all. So thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Bye bye.